The unexpected knock. It was a quiet morning in the Hollywood Hills. Birds chirped outside Keanu Reeves's home, and the soft hum of wind brushed against the trees. He had just made himself a cup of coffee, black with a touch of honey, and sat down on his balcony, letting the sun warm his face. For years now, peace had become his best friend. No red carpets, no camera flashes, just stillness. Keanu had always preferred solitude, not because he hated people, but because life had taught him how precious silence was. It helped him heal. It helped him listen to the world, to others, and to himself. And today felt like any other slow morning until a heavy knock echoed through his front door. It wasn't just a knock. It had that strange weight behind it, the kind that made the birds stop singing, the kind that made your heartbeat skip. Keanu stood slowly, mug still in hand, his brow furrowed, not with fear, but with concern. Visitors weren't coming here, and no one ever knocked like that. He walked toward the door and opened it cautiously. Two men stood there, black suits, clean-cut, serious eyes. They held up badges before he could say a word. "Mr. Reeves," the older one said. "We're from the FBI. We need to talk. May we come in?" Keanu didn't move for a moment, not because he was scared, but because his mind couldn't connect the dots. The FBI, him. He nodded slowly and stepped aside. The agents entered with quiet professionalism. Their eyes scanned the room, but not in a rude or threatening way. More like they were trained to notice everything. Keanu led them to the living room. "Can I offer you anything? Coffee, water?" "No, thank you," the younger agent replied. Politely, "This won't take long." They sat down across from him. Keanu took the armchair near the window, still holding his coffee, now cooling fast. "Mr. Reeves," the older agent began, "what we're about to tell you is extremely sensitive, but we believe you're involved unknowingly in something that may have saved lives." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "I don't understand. How could I be involved in something and not know it?" The older agent looked at his partner. There was a moment of silence before the younger one pulled out a thin folder. "Have you been in contact with anyone named Sophia Durant?" the younger one asked. Keanu blinked. The name hit something deep in his memory. Sophia Durant. Yes, he remembered now. 5 months ago, a quiet afternoon outside a bookstore in New York City. She was a young woman sitting on a bench, crying. He had stopped, sat beside her, offered a tissue. They had talked only for 20 minutes, but something about her sadness had touched him. "Yes," Keanu said slowly. "I met her briefly. She looked lost, so I just listened. She said she was trying to disappear from something dark. She never told me much." The agents nodded. The older one leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Reeves, Sophia Durant was on the run, but not from the law. She was escaping a very powerful man, a man we've been trying to catch for years. She had important information, and because she trusted you, because of something you told her, she made a decision that led us to finally track him." Keanu sat back, stunned. Double quotes, "What did I say?" he whispered. "You told her." The younger agent said gently that she didn't have to be brave forever, just brave enough to make one good choice. And she did. She handed us a notebook, one she'd been too afraid to give anyone else. It had everything. Keanu felt the chill run through him. He remembered that moment. He had no idea his words had meant so much. "Is she okay?" he asked. The agents paused again. "We're not sure," the older one admitted. "She disappeared before we could place her under protection. But your name was the only name she mentioned. It was written in the first page of the notebook." Keanu looked down. The coffee in his cup had gone cold. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked softly. The older agent took a breath. "Because we think she may come back to you. And if she does, we want you to call us. She's not safe yet, and neither are you." A sudden heaviness filled the room. The peaceful morning had cracked open into something much darker. Keanu nodded, his voice low. "You have my word." The agent stood, handed him a card, thanked him, and left. He didn't move for a long time. The name Sophia Durant kept repeating in his mind like an old song, and deep inside, he knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot, but what he didn't know was that Sophia had already returned. and she was closer than he imagined. Asterisk the girl in the shadows night had fallen by the time Keanu Reeves stood up from his couch. The living room, once filled with sunlight, now felt heavy with shadows. The FBI agent's visit kept echoing in his mind. Sophia Durant, a woman he had barely known, a conversation he had almost forgotten. And yet, his words had changed everything. He walked to the kitchen, poured himself fresh coffee, and stared out the window. The hills outside were quiet, peaceful, too peaceful. Then he felt it, that strange sensation, like someone was watching him. He turned slowly. Nothing. The house was empty, just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the creak of old wood. But the feeling didn't go away. Keanu moved cautiously through his home, checked each room, looked behind curtains, opened the back door and stepped into the garden. Nothing moved, not a leaf, not a sound, until a whisper. So faint, he thought he imagined it. Keanu. He spun around, heart pounding. And then, out of the dark, stepped a figure, small, thin, shaking. Her clothes were dusty, her hair tied back in a loose braid, eyes wide and frightened. "Sophia?" Keanu asked, barely believing it. She nodded. Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't know where else to go." Keanu didn't hesitate. He opened the door wide and gently pulled her inside. "You're safe now," he said quietly. "You're safe here." Sophia collapsed into the couch. Her hands were trembling, her breathing uneven. Keanu handed her a glass of water. She drank it slowly. "How long have you been out there?" he asked. "Hours," she said, her voice cracking. "I've been following you, not to spy, just to be close, to know if you were safe." Keanu sat across from her, calm but alert. "The FBI came. They told me everything. They said you helped them. They're worried about you." "I know," Sophia whispered, "but I can't trust anyone. I don't know who's real anymore." Keanu looked into her eyes and saw something that broke his heart, deep fear, and a kind of loneliness that words couldn't reach. "You trusted me once," he said softly. She nodded. "You told me I didn't have to be brave forever, just brave enough to make one good choice. So I did. But now, they're looking for me again. And this time, they won't miss." Keanu leaned forward. "Tell me everything, from the beginning." And she did. Sophia told him about her job, how she had worked as an assistant to a billionaire named Leon Marshall on the outside. Marshall looked like a tech genius, successful, generous, powerful. But behind closed doors, he ran a secret network of corruption, fake charities, stolen data, silenced whistleblowers, and worse. "I found out too much," Sophia said. "I was supposed to shred a document, but I read it. It had names, money transfers, plans, and threats. People were being hurt. So I copied it into a notebook. But I didn't know what to do." Keanu listened without interrupting. He could feel her pain. "Then I saw you," she said, her voice shaking again, "outside that bookstore. And I don't know why, but you sat beside me, like you saw me, really saw me. And you spoke like you weren't afraid of anything." Keanu looked down, almost embarrassed. "I was just trying to help." "You did," she whispered. "You gave me the strength to run." But running had cost her everything. She changed cities, stayed in hostels, worked under different names. But someone always got close, always asked the wrong questions. So she went deeper into hiding. Until now. "I didn't want to put you in danger," Sophia said. "But I had no choice. I think someone followed me. Yesterday. I had to know if you were okay." Keanu stood up and locked the doors, checked the windows, pulled the curtains. "You're not going back out there," he said firmly. "You'll stay here. We'll figure this out. Together." Sophia's lip trembled. "But they'll find us." Keanu shook his head. "Then we'll be ready." He walked to a cabinet and opened a hidden drawer. Inside was an old flip phone, one he hadn't used in years. He punched in a number. It rang once before someone answered. "You told me to call if she came back," Keanu said. "She's here." It was the FBI. They promised to send a team, not to arrest her, but to protect her, to take her to a safe house and finish what she started. But as Keanu ended the call and turned back to Sophia, she was gone. The front door was cracked open. A note lay on the floor. "I'm sorry. I can't let you get hurt. They're watching." Keanu felt a jolt of panic. He rushed out the door, called her name, ran into the street. But she had vanished into the night. Again. And this time, she wouldn't be easy to find. Footprints in the night. Keanu Reeves stood frozen on the edge of his front yard, his breath rising in the cold night air. The hills were quiet again, but not peaceful. They were holding something, a secret, or a warning. The note in his hand shook slightly. The words burned into his mind. "I'm sorry. I can't let you get hurt." Why would she run again? He whispered to himself. He had just promised her safety, and within minutes, she had disappeared into the shadows. Not from fear of the FBI, not from him, but from something or someone else. Keanu turned back inside, locked the door, and sat down at the kitchen table. He pulled out the FBI agent's card. His fingers hovered over the number. Should he call? Or would that only scare her further? Instead, he reached for his laptop. He had kept something, a habit from years ago, back when he traveled often. It was a private folder encrypted. He opened it. Inside were photos, letters, and notes from people he had met over the years. And there, in one of the scanned images, was Sophia. Not a clear photo, just a corner of her face, smiling faintly beside a stack of books. He had taken the photo at that bookstore months ago, not thinking much of it. It was meant to be part of a journal entry he never finished. Keanu zoomed in. Behind her, a mural on the bookstore wall came into view. A painted tiger, blue and gold. That mural wasn't just art, it was a landmark. He searched the image online. Found it. It was a bookstore in New York City, but the mural was unique to a specific chain. 5 stores across the country used the same image. One was in Los Angeles, only 30 minutes from where he was now. If she ran, he thought aloud, she might have gone somewhere familiar, somewhere that reminded her of when she felt safe. Keanu grabbed his jacket, keys, and a flashlight. The streets were quiet as he drove. His mind raced. He didn't know if this idea made sense, but his gut told him it was right. By the time he reached the bookstore, it was past midnight. The lights were off, but the mural was still there, bright under the street lamp glow, blue and gold, strong and wild. He parked and stepped out, and that's when he saw them. Footprints. They were faint, but visible on the damp sidewalk. Small, narrow, rushed. He followed them. They led around the corner, into a narrow alley, then to the back of the store where a small patio had benches and vines growing on the walls. A place meant for daytime reading. And on the bench, curled up under a jacket that wasn't hers, was Sophia. Keanu stepped forward quietly. "Sophia," he said, just loud enough for her to hear. She jumped awake, eyes wide. But when she saw him, she didn't run. She looked down instead, ashamed. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought I was helping you. I thought leaving would make it safer." Keanu sat beside her. "Running makes you alone, not safe." Tears filled her eyes again. "I don't know how to stop running." Keanu took a deep breath. "Then let me walk with you, even if just for a while." She looked at him, and for the first time, she didn't look like she wanted to disappear. He called the FBI again, gave them the address, but just as he ended the call, a sound startled them both. A car engine revved hard at the end of the alley. A black SUV pulled up fast. Keanu stood protectively in front of Sophia. A man stepped out, tall, sunglasses at night, and a smirk that didn't belong. "Sophia Durant," the man said coolly. "You've made some very important people angry." Keanu didn't flinch. "You need to leave." The man looked him up and down. "Movie star or not, you don't understand what you're stepping into." But before the man could take another step forward, a black van pulled in behind the SUV, blocking its escape. FBI agents jumped out, guns drawn. Orders shouted. The man from the SUV froze, raised his hands. "Too late," said one of the agents. "We've been tracking this guy. Didn't expect him to show up here." They cuffed the man, searched the SUV, and found weapons and fake IDs. It wasn't just a threat. It had been a plan, an attack. And Sophia had been seconds from vanishing forever. Keanu held her close as the agents took the man away. They told him she was going to a secure location now. No more hiding alone. She would be protected, truly. But just before she got into the van, Sophia turned to Keanu. "You changed everything," she said quietly. "With just a few words, you gave me the courage." He nodded, holding back emotion. "And you reminded me that even small kindness can echo far." The van pulled away, lights fading into the night. Keanu stood in the alley, alone again. But this time, he didn't feel empty. He felt something new, like the story wasn't over yet. Not even close. What Sophia left behind 2 days past. Keanu Reeves stayed home, quietly, processing everything that had happened. The black SUV, the alley, the way Sophia had disappeared again, this time not into danger, but into protection. The FBI had promised she would be safe now. They said she would be moved every few days. Her identity shielded, and her location secret even from him. But that didn't stop the silence from creeping in. The house felt colder, not because the temperature had changed, but because something important had left with her. Something fragile and brave. The memory of her soft voice, trembling but strong, still echoed in his mind. Then on the third morning there was another knock. This one was gentle, no force, just 3 slow taps. Keanu opened the door to find a package on the step. No name, no return address. Just a small brown box, sealed with clear tape. He looked around. No sign of anyone. He brought the package inside and opened it. Inside was a single notebook and a letter. He recognized the handwriting. "Keanu, I know they said not to contact you, but there are things I couldn't leave unsaid. The FBI has everything they need, but this is personal. This notebook has my memories, the good, the painful, and the moments that gave me the strength to keep going. You're one of those moments. I hope you read it when you're ready. Thank you for seeing me when I felt invisible." Sophia. Keanu sat down with the notebook and gently flipped open the cover. On the first page was a small photograph, faded and torn at the edges. It was Sophia as a child, standing beside her mother in front of a small house. They were both smiling, barefoot on a patch of grass. Beneath the photo, a caption, "My world before the fear began." The next few pages were filled with drawings, some messy, others carefully sketched. They showed cities, alleyways, crowded trains. And then, slowly, her words began to appear. "I started running when I was 17. My father was arrested for something he didn't do. I saw what power does to truth. When I met Marshall, I thought I found safety. But safety can be an illusion when it wears a suit and tie." The entries went on. Keanu read about her early days working in Marshall's company, how she was hired as an intern and quickly gained trust, how Marshall treated her like family until she asked one wrong question. That was when things changed, when her emails got deleted without her consent, when someone broke into her apartment, when a man in a black car followed her for weeks without speaking a word. I wanted to scream, but I was taught that no one listens to girls who cry wolf. So I kept quiet, until I met you. Keanu paused. The next entry was dated the day after their conversation in New York. "You didn't give me money. You didn't give me advice. You gave me presence. You gave me silence that felt safe. And you said something so simple. It still lives in my bones. You don't have to be brave forever. Just brave enough to make one good choice." So I did. And the world shifted. The more he read, the more his heart tightened. Sophia hadn't just survived, she had carried a mountain on her back for years. And even when she crumbled, she found the strength to stand again. Towards the end of the notebook was a page marked with red ink. "If anything happens to me, give this page to Agent Wells." Keanu flipped it carefully. It listed coordinates for sets, possibly locations, and names, 3 names he hadn't seen before, each followed by a short note. "Drive, M. Carlisle. Handles finances, Jane Torres. Public relations cover-up R. Unknown. Always near Marshall. Possible on for Surface names." Hadn't been in the folder Sophia gave the FBI. Keanu leaned back in his chair, thinking. Had she intentionally held this back? Or had she been too afraid? He called the number the agent gave him. Agent Wells answered. "I need to see you," Keanu said. "Now." Within an hour, a black car pulled up outside his home. Keanu handed the notebook to Agent Wells, who studied the red-marked page with narrowed eyes. "These names aren't in our files," he muttered. "This changes things. This changes everything." Keanu leaned forward. "What happens now?" Agent Wells looked serious. "Now we dig deeper. This wasn't just about Marshall. He was part of a web. And if Sophia is right, this goes further than we thought." Keanu nodded. "Then do it right. Protect her. Protect others like her." Wells nodded. "We will, and Keanu, thank you, again." As the car drove away, Keanu stood alone once more. But something had changed. He wasn't just a witness anymore. He was part of the story, and deep inside, he felt that this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of something much larger. The trap behind the glass. 3 days later, Keanu Reeves found himself sitting alone in a quiet, private FBI office, not because he had to be there, but because he chose to be. After reading Sophia's notebook, especially the last red-marked page, something inside him refused to stay silent. He had lived years in peace, but peace wasn't always freedom, not if others were still being hunted. Silenced, erased. Agent Wells walked in, looking tired. He placed 2 files on the table in front of Keanu. "We confirmed the names," he said. Keanu leaned in. "Dr. Michael Carlyle is a financial consultant based out of Zurich. Helps move money offshore. Jane Torres runs a media wellness company. It's really a shell firm that handles fake stories, covers scandals, and even manages bribes to journalists. And the third one, we think it's Ruben Laird, ex-military. Vanished 10 years ago. We believe he's Marshall's personal fixer, the one who makes problems disappear." Keanu didn't flinch. He had acted in thrillers, stood across from villains on screen, but this felt different. This was real, raw, dangerous. "And Sophia?" he asked. "She's being moved every 24 hours, Agent Wells said. "She doesn't know where she'll sleep tomorrow, but she's okay. She's under our highest level of protection. She also asked us to tell you, thank you for believing her when no one else did." Keanu looked down. "I want to help, not just by listening. Something more." Wells gave a half smile. "We thought you'd say that." He pulled out another folder. "We need someone who's not in the system. Someone Marshall's people won't expect. Someone who can walk into a space without raising alarms." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "You want me to act, not just act, observe. You're going to attend an event, a private gallery. Dr. Carlyle will be there. We believe it's a cover for laundering deals. Art has been their favorite method of transferring wealth lately. Anonymous buyers, no questions asked." Keanu stayed quiet for a moment. "When?" "Tonight." The gallery was located in an abandoned warehouse turned high-end exhibition. Soft lighting, chilled champagne, and masks. The guests wore elaborate masks, not for fun, but for privacy. Keanu arrived dressed in black. A silver mask covered half his face. The guard at the entrance checked. "No names, only matching invitation numbers." Inside, the air smelled of varnish, perfume, and secrets. The walls were lined with enormous paintings, abstract, cold, some made of broken glass and gold wire. It wasn't about the art, it was about the deals hidden behind them. He spotted Carlyle easily. The man had an arrogance to his walk, short, with a slick smile. He wore a red fox mask. 2 other guests hovered nearby, whispering, a woman with golden gloves, and a tall man who never took his hands out of his coat pockets. Keanu kept his distance, studied, remembered. Then he noticed something. Across the room, tucked behind one of the larger sculptures, a woman stood watching Carlyle. She wore no mask. Her hands trembled. Her face was pale but familiar. It was Sophia. Keanu froze. She wasn't supposed to be here. This wasn't part of the plan. He moved quickly, weaving through the crowd, but not too fast to attract attention. When he reached her, she looked up, startled. "What are you doing here?" he asked in a whisper. "I had to come," she said. "They moved me again, but this time, they slipped. I heard them say Carlyle's name. I knew this was the night. I couldn't stay away. You shouldn't have come alone." "I'm not," she said, glancing behind her. And then Keanu saw it. FBI agents, plain clothes, blending with the crowd. "We're not just observing anymore," Sophia said. "Tonight, We collect proof. Keanu nodded slowly. Suddenly, the tall man with hands in his coat walked past Carlyle and dropped something behind a painting. Keanu's eyes caught the flash of silver device, maybe a recorder or a signal jammer. He whispered to Sophia, "Stay close." They followed the man through a corridor of sculptures. The lights flickered once, then returned. Too many shadows. Too much silence. At the end of the hallway, the man stopped, turned. It was Reuben Laird. His eyes were dark, still, like he didn't blink unless he had to. "Mr. Reeves," he said slowly. "Funny seeing you here." Keanu stayed still, behind him. Sophia's breath caught. "You've caused quite a storm," Laird continued, "and storms need to be calmed." He reached into his coat, but before he could draw anything, one of the plainclothes agents shouted from behind, "Drop it." A flash, a gun, a scream. Laird tried to run, but Keanu moved fast. Years of stunt training kicked in. He tackled Laird into a sculpture. Glass shattered around them. The weapons slid across the floor. The agents rushed in, pinned Laird, cuffed him. One agent picked up the small silver device. It was a tracker, disguised as a recorder. He was trying to tag Carlyle's latest deal. The agent said, "We can trace where the money goes now." Sophia trembled beside Keanu. This could take everything down. He put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll finish what we started." As FBI agents began clearing the gallery, securing evidence and escorting guests for questioning, Keanu and Sophia stood in the middle of it all, blood on the floor, broken glass at their feet, but something whole in their hearts. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were fighting, and the final battle was just ahead. The final reckoning. The sun hadn't risen yet when Keanu Reeves found himself in a dark conference room deep beneath an FBI facility. The silence was thick. Only the hum of monitors and the soft clink of coffee mugs broke the stillness. Agent Wells stood at the front, facing a wall of screens showing satellite feeds, document scans, and live security footage. Sophia sat beside Keanu. Her hands were steady now, her eyes clearer. The fear that once lived in her every breath had been replaced with something stronger, resolve. "The trap worked," Agent Wells began. "We got Laird, we got the device, and now we know where the money was going. Cayman accounts, European art auctions, and more importantly, one last meeting." He tapped a screen. "Marshall, he's coming to Los Angeles." Keanu leaned forward. "Why?" "Because he thinks everything's cooled down," Wells replied. "But he doesn't know we have him surrounded. Thanks to Sophia's notes and your help, we've built a case so airtight, even his lawyers can't twist out of it." Sophia looked at the monitor. "So what happens now?" Wells gave a slow, determined nod. "We finish this." That night, Keanu returned home, emotionally drained but clear in purpose. The fight wasn't over, but the enemy was exposed. Truth had stepped out of the shadows. Hours later, a secure phone rang on his table. "He's here," the voice said. "We're moving in." Keanu didn't go back to sleep. He stayed up, lights dim, staring out at the hills. And then 1 week later, everything changed. News broke across every major network. Billionaire tech mogul Leon Marshall arrested on federal charges including fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. The images were shocking. Marshall handcuffed, head down, escorted by agents out of a luxury hotel. No bodyguards, no press conference, just cold justice. Keanu watched silently as reporters scrambled for details. And in the background, unseen by the world, stood Sophia. She didn't want the credit. She didn't want the spotlight. But without her, it wouldn't have happened. A few hours later, Keanu received a message, short, simple. "I'm free now." She smiled softly. Weeks passed. The chaos faded. Marshall's network fell apart. Others stepped forward. Victims, witnesses, people who had been afraid for years. Now they were speaking, and each story made the case stronger. Keanu kept to himself, as always, but one evening, as he walked through a quiet street near the same bookstore where he had first met Sophia, he saw her again. She was sitting on the same bench. No fear in her eyes now. No tears, just calm. He walked over and sat beside her. They didn't speak at first. Just watch the sky turn gold. Finally, she turned to him. You know, I used to believe people like me didn't matter, that even if I screamed, no one would. Listen, Keanu looked at her gently. And now I know, she said, that even a whisper can be heard if it's honest, if it comes from the heart. He smiled. You did more than whisper. You moved mountains. She laughed. Quietly, maybe, but you were the one who reminded me I had legs to climb. A silence settled between them, comfortable, deep. Then, out of her bag, she pulled something wrapped in cloth. I made this for you, she said. Keanu unwrapped it. It was a painting. A simple one. Just a man sitting beside a crying girl on a bench. No faces, just shapes and light. But the emotion was unmistakable. This moment changed my life. She whispered, I wanted you to have it. Keanu held the painting with care. Thank you. You saved me, she said. You saved yourself. He replied. They sat there until the sun dipped below the horizon. No cameras, no applause, no headlines. Just two people who had faced darkness and lit a path through it. And in the quiet of that evening, one thing was clear. Sometimes, saving the world doesn't mean wearing a cape or standing on a stage. Sometimes it starts with one conversation, one act of kindness, and one person who chooses to believe.